Well, I think that's remarkable. I have not received those same reports, but assuming they are accurate, that's a very good sign. And of course, I have become a very strong proponent of the Second Amendment of the right to keep and bear arms, not because I think it's necessarily going to maintain civil relations between, say, family households that may have disputes or rivalries or feuds, but because the American people, among others, need to have the capacity to withstand assaults by their own government, so that I believe the fact that there are 80 million armed Americans in this country may be the single most important fact of the matter that enables us to preserve any semblance of freedom against the encroaching power of a police or neo-fascist state where corporations appear to be dominating every aspect of our lives, including what we can or cannot hear in what is so often described as the free press or on radio and television. It's an appalling situation that I, who was born 2 years before you in 1940, never expected to take place during my lifetime, Imran. And to me, it is a great tragedy that my grandchildren, for example, are most unlikely to be able to enjoy the benefits of a free society that when I was a youngster we could take for granted. And even in growing up, it's a tragedy that we have come to this point. I believe you have made many penetrating and astute observations about the Middle East, and something to me that symbolizes, perhaps as much as anything, the horrific state into which world affairs has sunk has been the assault by NATO on Libya, where from everything I can piece together, Muammar Gaddafi was extremely generous with the Libyan people. He provided a national health care system. He provided public education. He guaranteed the ability to go to college. He gave couples $50,000 when they married. They were beneficiaries of additional support when they had children. He promised every Libyan a house before he provided one to his own father, and he kept his promise. He established a national bank that wasn't indebted to the international banking cartel. He evaded the entrapments of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. He was building an enormous waterworks project that was going to turn North Africa green. He provided the highest standard of living for the Libyan people in all of Africa. He had detached his oil supplies from the petrodollar to the petro-euro, which of course was also the offense committed by Saddam Hussein and by Iran, which are among the most important real reasons that they have been made targets of American aggression at the behest of the international banking system and the great international corporations. It's a tragedy, it seems to me, that the North Atlantic Treaty Organization should have been turned into an instrument of aggression and killed tens of thousands of Libyans, bombed their infrastructure, and perpetrated other acts that are inhumane and violations of international conventions for the ethical conduct of warfare. That we have sunk so low, Imran, causes me great despair and disillusionment, where I can no longer say that I believe in my country. I believe in the principles for which my country is supposed to stand, but the actions that it has taken in a seemingly endless series of aggressive acts toward other states, including in Chile, in Ecuador, in El Salvador, in Nicaragua, in Vietnam, in Laos, in Cambodia, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya, and potentially in both Pakistan and Iran, to me is a travesty and betrayal of everything for which this once great nation is supposed to stand. And it shames me as an American and a former commissioned officer in the Marine Corps not to mention one dedicated to the best interests of his nation and the world, that we should have come to this sorry state of affairs.
Perhaps you would recognize, Jim, that in the same way that when the United States replaced Britain as the ruling state in the world, Britain became the puppy dog of the United States. When Nelson Mandela commented before the first Bush invaded Iraq, he said that the British Prime Minister was acting like the Foreign Minister of the United States. What we are now about to see, Jim, is a repetition. History is going to repeat itself. That in the same way that Britain became a puppy dog of the United States, so too the United States is now moving to becoming a puppy dog of Israel. There is, however, a silver lining. I think it's time for mankind to recognize that there is one force still remaining in the world, which is standing up to Israel, standing up to world Zionism, standing up to that injustice in the world and oppression in the world. And that is true Islam. I'm not talking about Parvez Musharraf's Islam and Hosni Mubarak's Islam. I'm talking about those who are the true followers of the Prophet. And they're the ones who are fighting in Afghanistan, fighting against occupation, fighting against oppression, and struggling for liberation from oppression. Tomorrow, I believe, Jim, the consequences of what happened in Libya are going to impact upon Turkey. The Turkish Prime Minister has become very popular in the Muslim world for standing up to Israel when the flotilla went to Gaza, and he condemned Israel. The Turkish Prime Minister has become so popular now that he is being recognized as a second Saladin, Salahuddin Ayyubi, Saladin. But Turkey is still a member state of NATO. And the events that we are now anticipating, Jim,